The Confessions of Saint Augustine, Book 4, Chapter 5. And now, Lord, these things are passed by, and time has assuaged my wound. May I learn from you, who are truth, and approach the ear of my heart unto your mouth, that you may tell me why weeping is sweet to the miserable. Have you, although present everywhere, cast away our misery far from you? And you abide in yourself, but we are tossed about in divers trials. And yet, unless we mourn in your ears, we should have no hope left. Whence then is sweet fruit gathered from the bitterness of life, from groaning, tears, sighs, and complaints? Does this sweeten it that we hope you hear? This is true of prayer, for therein is a longing to approach unto you. But it is also in grief for a thing lost, and the sorrow wherewith I was then overwhelmed. For I neither hoped he should return to life, nor did I desire this with my tears, but I wept only and grieved. For I was miserable and had lost my joy. Or is weeping indeed a bitter thing, and for very loathing of the things which we before enjoyed, does it then, when we shrink from them, please us? Chapter 6. But what speak I of these things? For now is no time to question, but to confess unto you. Wretched I was, and wretched is every soul bound by the friendship of perishable things. He is torn asunder when he loses them, and then he feels the wretchedness which he had ere, yet he lost them. So was it then with me. I wept most bitterly, and found my repose in bitterness. Thus was I wretched, and that wretched life I held dearer than my friend. For thou, I would willingly have changed it, yet was I more unwilling to part with it than with him. Yea, I know not whether I would have parted with it even for him, as is related, if not feigned, of Pylades and Orestes, that they would gladly have died for each other or together, not to live together being to them worse than death. But in me there had arisen some unexplained feeling to contrary to this, for at once I loathed exceedingly to live and feared to die. I suppose the more I loved him, the more did I hate and fear, as a most cruel enemy, death, which had bereaved me of him, and I imagined it would speedily make an end of all men, since it had power over him. Thus was it with me, I remember. Behold my heart, O my God, behold and see into me, for well I remember it, O my hope, who cleanse me from the impurity of such affections, directing mine eyes toward you, and plucking my feet out of the snare. For I wondered that others, subject to death, did live, since he whom I loved, as if he should never die, was dead. And I wondered yet more that myself, who was to him a second self, could live, he being dead. Well said one of his friends, you half of my soul, for I felt that my soul and his soul were one soul in two bodies, and therefore was my life a horror to me, because I would not live halved. And therefore perchance I feared to die, lest he whom I had much loved should die wholly. Chapter 7. O madness, which know not how to love men like men! O foolish man that I then was, enduring impatiently the lot of man! I fretted then, sighed, wept, was distracted, had neither rest nor counsel. For I bore about a shattered and bleeding soul, impatient of being borne by me, yet where to repose it I found not. Not in calm groves, not in games and music, not in fragrant spots, not in curious banquetings, nor in the pleasures of the bed and the couch, nor finally in books or poesy found it repose. All things looked ghastly, ye, the very light. Whatsoever was not what he was revolting and hateful, except groaning and tears. For in those alone found I a little refreshment. But when my soul was withdrawn from them, a huge load of misery weighed me down. To you, O Lord, it ought to have been raised, for you to lighten, I knew it, but neither could nor would. The more since when I thought of you, you were not to me any solid or substantial thing, for you were not yourself, but a mere phantom, and my error was my God. If I offered to discharge my load thereon, that it might rest, it glided through the void and came rushing down again on me. And I had remained to myself a hapless spot, where I could neither be nor be from thence. For whither should my heart flee from my heart? Whither should I flee from myself? Whither not follow myself? And yet I fled out of my country, and so should mine eyes less look for him, where they were not wont to see him, and thus from Tagaste I came to Carthage.